What's up out there on Facebook? Brian Falkenrath here, Set the Pace Triathlon. We're doing some quick Facebook Live tips on a Monday, January 18th, the day after the Chiefs won their playoff game against the Browns. For posterity's sake, mentioning on there, injuries, Patrick Mahomes, injuries are for another day. But today we're going to talk about training and if you're a shift worker. So I'm talking about nurses, police, fire department, EMT. I've got quite a few fire department employees, not specifically here with me personally, but just around the country that work either a 12-hour shift or 24-hour shifts, and just have a very unique situation where they're trying to do their training around their shift work, which is great when you get all your work done in a 24-hour period, and maybe you only have 2 a week. But there are some impacts on the other side of things, especially you got families and everything. They kind of come with that, and then there's the topic of PTSD, and it's real, and this is something altogether that I will not address specifically here, but that is another aspect of it too that can be, if you're not aware, if you're working shifts and you're finding that motivation is kind of hard and difficult, that could be a reason too, and something to investigate later. But I want to focus on some other things that are just kind of the top of mind real quick to talk about training. And if you're doing shift work as a nurse, as an EMT, as a fire department, police officer, whatever situation you find yourself in, even if you're, some factories and stuff like that, you're working shift work where it's not the same days every week. It could be 12-hour shifts, 10-hour shifts, 24-hour shifts, or something like that. So you're only working 3 or 4 hours, or 3 to 4 days a week, but you're working hard, concentrated times. Perhaps you can't do any workouts during those times, and it's going to wipe you out for the next day. So pre-made plans are probably not going to work for you unless you're adept at taking them and then reshuffling them to make sense for your schedule. It can be done. Some athletes, I have some athletes that are one-on-one when they lead up to a race, but I kind of help them give kind of guidelines until they get to a point where they go back to one-on-one. But for the most part, getting a pre-made plan may not be the best option for you because usually it's not going to be the same days every week that you're doing your work and you have your days off to do your training. But I've found that most know, usually up to 2 months ahead, they know their plan. So I've gone to bi-monthly planning with certain athletes, maybe not one-on-one specifically, but bi-monthly planning to where you can schedule out the 2 months that they do know and kind of put the workouts in that make sense for them. And that way you're not scheduling out, 40 weeks of racing. You do it 2 months at a time when people know their schedule, so that kind of helps out. So if you know what blocks and what days you're working, that definitely helps out to figure out the rest of the puzzle where all these workouts go. Especially if you're training for a full Ironman, it can be quite a challenge to figure out where it all goes. Communication is key. So whether you've got a one-on-one coach, whether you got someone just building you a plan, or you're just asking questions from somebody, if you're not communicating all the aspects of it, the day after my shift, I'm really tired, so it's hard for me to get the motivation to do hard workouts. Or maybe that's, the day after, I really like to get after it and just, get out all that energy and everything built up from working that shift. It was really stressful, and that's how I release stress, is going out and doing a tough workout. So communicate that. And if something changes and, whatever, I'm working more overtime or something like that, let somebody know that's helping you develop that plan, because if you don't communicate to them, the plan's not going to work, and you get frustrated, and then it's probably not going to work out well. Don't cram all the workouts into your off days. I know it's tempting. Maybe you work 3 days a week and you're working 12-hour shifts, and the rest of the time you're just like, gotta cram all the workouts in all those other days. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can massage your schedule and training plan well enough, especially if you got a whole day, it's in the middle of the week, and the kids are at school and you don't have any other obligations for the day, that you can manipulate the workouts, make them longer and shorter and shuffle them throughout, that you don't necessarily need to do workouts every day that you're off. So that's kind of a tall schedule, or a tall order. 12 hours of working, and then the next day workout, and then work again, work again. That's just a tall order with no real days off, or like a true recovery day. So that brings me to my next point. There's lots of opportunities, especially with the fire department. Probably not so much police or nursing or EMT, but usually fire departments, a firehouse has some sort of workout facility. So I've found that that's great opportunities for a 30, 45-minute strength session. There's sometimes you're on calls and it's just not going to work out. But at least with strength session, you get in there and get a workout going. And if you need to drop everything and go, you can. Runs are a little bit more difficult. Some people have access to treadmills, so that's a good opportunity. 30, 45-minute run. Usually doing a long run just isn't going to be feasible because you're on call. So whenever you got to leave, you got to leave. And if you got a 2-hour run you need to do, and you've done 20 minutes, and you got a call, and you come back a couple hours later, and you try to finish it, it just doesn't work well. So short workouts, runs sometimes work. Recumbent bikes, even if you got those, do recovery spins, and then strength sessions. So there is possibilities that you could do workouts on your shift depending on what access you have. Especially maybe if you're just on call and you're just kind of hanging out until a call comes in. So just keep that in mind. You can do workouts during your shift. Recovery is going to be crucial, especially for my firefighter people, EMTs, nurses, everybody that's on their feet and doing stuff. You're going to be worn out, especially if it's a 24-hour shift and you've been on call quite a bit, and then you get to the end of that shift. So you need to make sure that you're doing the proper things to recover, and that includes sleeping. And the day after may just be a swim or a light jog later in the day. Allow yourself to get sleep. Don't just cut your sleep short and then, I got to get after my workouts. You'll drive yourself into the ground and you'll burn out pretty quick. So sleep is essential. Recovery is essential. Making sure you're doing all the things to take care of yourself. Eating properly to get that nutrition to help recovery is essential too. So make sure you're paying attention to recovery. If you're going to do this, dedication is key. You've got to do whatever schedule you've come up with. You've got to get those workouts done. Because over time, if you keep missing workouts and the plan doesn't work, you're not communicating properly, if you don't get it fixed, over time that's going to be detrimental. And come race day, it's going to be a very big order to get a Ironman, half Ironman done if you just couldn't find a way to get the workouts in. So you got to get that dedication to get those workouts in, scheduled on the days you need to do them. Every workout that I have, I don't want to do every one of them, but if you don't do your workouts, you're not going to make race day very pleasant. So just make sure you got the dedication. Get them done when you've got them planned. As you're going along, know the difference between if you're just tired for the workout or if you're chronically fatigued. So if after time you're like sore, you're not sleeping well, other things are going on, just make sure you know the warning signs that you're getting to a point where you're getting chronically fatigued to where you could end up injuring yourself, burning out, or other things. Now, if you wake up and you're just tired and just like, I just don't want to do it, but you could get it done and nothing's really hurting. It's just sometimes you're just not looking forward to it. That's where dedication comes in. Just get it done. But do know the difference if you run into workouts and over time it's just building up fatigue and you're not taking care of yourself. You need to change something. So just be aware of that. And it's okay, if I had a typical athlete that had access to morning workouts, evening workouts, lunch workouts, I'd build a plan in there. We got some aerobic stuff. We got some, strength hill work on the runs, strength hill work on the bikes. Got some power workouts on the bikes. We got some tempo runs and speed bikes. We got all these different workouts that I blend together to make them a good training plan to where you're working on all different aspects to lead up to race day. It's okay if all you got to work with is just doing it by volume. So, that's all you got. If you're just wiped out after your shifts and, doing speed work just isn't really going to be feasible because you're going to end up injuring yourself just because you can't get that recovery in, it's okay to do everything in zone 2 and just do volume. So you may have to swallow the ego a little bit, swallow the pride and kind of dial it back. But if your goal is to finish the race and be comfortable and be trained well enough to finish the race, you could revert back to just volume only. I don't really like to see that too often, but extreme circumstances call for extreme measures. And if at the end of the day you're just like, I keep trying to ramp up speed work and strength work and the run and the bike, and I just end up hurting and getting injured and nagging injuries, dial it back, go volume only, get it done, be happy, be able to work with the rest of life. It's just not about triathlon and work. There's other things going on, so make sure it works for your lifestyle. So that's my quick tips. If you're out there training and you're doing a job that requires shift work, police department, fire department, EMT, nurses, there's several other industries out there in shift work. So that's my kind of tips. If you got any questions, put them in the comments, send me a message. Like I said, I do several one-on-one athletes that do shift work. I have got bi-monthly athletes. I've got people I've made plans for that know their shift schedule. It's just a rotating schedule, but they know it for months and months ahead. So I made plans for them specifically. So just reach out if you need any help or advice or anything, and I'll be happy to help you out. Happy training, and 2021, hopefully we'll see you on race day. So hope they happen. Talk to you later.